So this is our video response to the question of the day on Thursday the 26th in regards to the shooting in New York and how it affects the conversation on gun control. So I personally think that guns, the Second Amendment, everyone's allowed to have their own guns. I think that's great. But I think there should be a limit onto what guns people can own. I think collectors would probably, honestly, collectors and rednecks are going to be the ones who have the biggest problem with this sort of thing being proposed. But, if you want to have an old World War II gun that doesn't work anymore hanging on your wall, great. If you want to take the firing pin out of a weapon, make sure it's not working and then hang it on your wall, great. But I don't think there's any reason that, people need to have AK-47s stashed in their homes. There's just no reason for that. Preparing for Z-Day and, stuff like that, cool, whatever. But it's not necessary. There's, if you want to protect yourself, there's a certain amount of force that you should use. And eventually, there's just a tipping point of, do I really need these 5 assault rifles in my house? Do I need this sniper rifle? I mean...
What about hunting?
Yeah, hunters, okay, that's different though, because they don't use assault rifles to go hunting.
They don't use automatic weapons.
Yeah, they don't use automatic weapons. There's no reason...
Speaking up for everybody.
There's almost absolutely no reason why anybody living in a suburban neighborhood or almost anywhere in America needs to have an automatic weapon.
I'm on the streets, motherfucker.
I'm just saying, there's almost no reason that anyone needs to own an automatic weapon. If that's a passion of yours or a hobby or whatever, great. I still don't think it's necessary at all.
Lock that shit up.
Take the firing pin out. Because if that shit gets stolen, there's no way to track it. There's no way you can file a police report, but there's almost no way to make sure that shit's going to come back to you. Someone's just going to sell it, strip it down, or sell it as a whole. Guns are way too easy to buy and sell illegally. So with that, I also think that gun laws should be stricter. Punishments should be firmer for owning an unlicensed weapon. The 14-year-old who carries a gun around because he's scared at school, it's a little bit different than the 35-year-old who has 17 high-powered weapons sitting in his house.
Wait, are you saying that the 14-year-old should carry a gun around at school as opposed to the guy that has an assault rifle arsenal in his house?
No, I'm saying it's slightly different.
Oh.
But punishment should be firm for both. I mean...
Especially the kid who brings a gun to school.
Yeah, unlicensed weapons are a big problem. And I think punishment should be firmer because otherwise people are just going to keep doing it. And yeah, punishment isn't enough to scare away the bad criminals, but it's enough to maybe stop the smaller ones and just crack down on that shit. There's no reason that so many weapons should be allowed to be purchased in America, 1, legally, and 2, illegally. I think there should be a limit on how many guns people can own. Everyone has a right to feel safe. That's fine. But there's no reason you need an AK-47 to feel safe. A small handgun will do enough damage to protect you.
It'll still scare the living crap out of someone who's trying to rob you.
Yeah.
Not everyone.
So, in my personal opinion, I believe that gun laws should be firmer, punishment should be harsher, and there should be a limit on what guns you can own.
Agreed.
That's my opinion.
Once again, I would still own a gun.
Okay.
First of all, I want a pistol, and I want it to be pink. Just saying, with zebra print. I think this shouldn't be an issue because the Constitution, I'm not a constitutionalist, I'm not like every single thing that the Constitution says, but the reason why we put it in there is so that if we had a, tyrannical government or, shit goes down, my boyfriend's grandpa has a mini arsenal in his garage and I'm just gonna take up shop in there. Z-Day happens, whatever, it'll make me feel protective if shit goes down. And I have every right to own a pistol if I want. I think there should be more hoops you have to jump through to deter the gangsters and whatever that just want a freaking gun to shoot up some people. You need to have a criminal background check. I don't think you should have any crimes on your record, besides speeding tickets.
Any violence.
No violent crimes or anything like that. You can't have assault or whatever. There's a reason why felons can't get firearms anymore. We do have rules, and if you ratio out, I was just saying that earlier and I had the best argument, but if you ratio out, the amount of gun crimes versus the amount of gun owners, the ratio is ridiculously in the favor of gun owners. Like the tragedies are tragedies and they shouldn't have happened. But when you look at how many people actually own a gun as opposed to how many people actually get shot, it's insurmountable. Like, you can't really compare those two. It's just the wrong idiots get the wrong gun and shoot the wrong people. That's just how it goes. And a lot of the time, like, people will draw down in self-defense. And this also brings up the topic of whether or not you're allowed to shoot people in your own house when they break in your house. This just gets into a ridiculous conversation.
It can go in so many ways.
This is a never-ending
I think so.
conversation about gun
if
control
someone
because
breaks-
in the end,
Yeah, but it's not part of it.
in the end, it like comes down to life or death and whether or not someone else is allowed to make that call in their safety. Like, that's all it really comes down to. Is am I allowed to pull out my gun and shoot somebody because I feel like I'm in danger, or should I just get my shit worked? And I don't really feel like getting my shit worked. I'd rather pull out my hot pink zebra print pistol and shoot that motherfucker. And I would like the right to do that.
So, in a nutshell, how do you feel about it?
Is that there need to be stricter rules, and it needs to be harder to get weapons. And like you said, which I said, there need to be harder punishments towards illegal, like carrying illegal weapons, having unregistered weapons. Stealing a weapon, I think, should be a higher crime. It shouldn't just be theft. It should be like,
Stealing of a firearm.
Yes, theft of a
would be
firearm should
scary.
be a lot worse than just regular theft, and it should be harder to get a weapon because a lot of places you can just walk in there, show your ID, whatever. A lot of gun shops don't care. There are state regulations, but a lot
You
of
can
gun
buy
shops
guns in Costco. Like,
and buy mark.
seriously?
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still, like, there are still state laws in effect where you have to go through background checks. It's just a lot of places won't actually do that because they want to get profit from their guns.
Mhm.
So they need to crack down on first
The shops.
the shops selling the guns, make sure nobody's just doing whatever, and then the people make sure they're not just whatever that they say they are and they can't actually get a weapon.
And when you actually crack down on like organized crime criminals and like black market selling of firearms, work their shit. Make an example out of them so that this shit stops. You
Agreed.
have anything else you'd like to say?
I want a zebra print handgun.
Oh, also, because this conversation stemmed off the Aurora shooting, vaguely stemmed off of that. It was mostly about the shooting in New York, but going back to the Aurora shooting, really the topic of gun control and whether or not people should be allowed to own weapons shouldn't really be brought up. It should be more about the purchase and like validating who's buying those weapons and where you can get it, because you can buy a lot of crap online. But when that motherfucker has full tactical gear, has automatic rifles, that's not every Dick and Joe that has a gun. And not every Dick and Joe should get punished because Crazy Face got a whole bunch of army shit and shot up the theater and did a whole bunch of bad stuff.
That's so scary.
That
how
is
he planned that out.
Ridiculous. That should not even be, that's not even a comparison between those two. Because that should just be between just purchasing the weapons, not actually using
In
them.
the security of movie theaters, but
Hey,
Yeah,
don't
but-
be checking purses. I got food stashed in there.
Yeah, seriously. My fucking Sour Patch Kids are gonna get jacked by fucking asshole fat
Like freaking
kid.
$5
Okay.
for a small popcorn.
that is our response to the video.
Buy 'em.